Welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Wednesday, June 2nd. I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain. Many of the stories right here can also be found at our website at indiancountrynews.com. And if you're interested in taking a peek at Eloise Cobell's 1 hour-long speech this morning, June 2nd, at the College of the Menominee Nation, go to indiancountrytv.com and the featured digital player there. She's in the on-demand file and in the loop. Here are the news stories for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. The U.S. Attorney's Office in South Dakota is adding 3 positions to help prosecute crimes in tribal communities. U.S. Attorney Brendan Johnson says one of the new assistant attorneys will be part of a pilot program on the Pine Ridge Reservation to help tribal prosecutors address a large caseload and prosecute misdemeanors. The U.S. Justice Department approved 33 new assistant attorney generals nationwide in states that contain what the federal government classifies as Indian country. Archaeologists are excavating a former Indian site in southern Utah before it's flooded for a water project. The Kane County Water Conservancy District is building the dam for the Jackson Flat Reservoir. It will hold water and make it available to farmers in Kanab and Kane County will be entitled to take a share. The archaeology is required by the National Historic Preservation Act because federal funding is covering part of the dam's $12 million cost. Tim Rogers, chairman of the Kabab Band of Paiutes, say at least 20 sets of human remains have been located so far. They will be reburied in a new location. The reservoir will flood about 15 archaeological sites. They include Indian sites and pioneer settlements. The Courte tribe has dedicated a new war memorial to honor tribal members who fought and died in American wars and conflicts. The dedication ceremony last week in Plummer, Idaho, drew about 500 people from across the Northwest. Tribal Vice Chairman Ernie Stansgar said the memorial recognizes Coeur tribal warriors and the sacrifices they have made for freedom. The Coeur Press reports that members of the tribe have served in every branch of the military during periods of war. The memorial is located at the trailhead of the Trail of Coeur d'Alenes near US 95 north of Plummer. It features a steel sculpture of a tribal warrior on horseback hoisting a peace pipe. Stones include the etched names of tribal members who have served in battles. Idaho Senator Mike Crapo says the memorial is inspiring and a reflection of the commitment of the tribe to service. Representatives of American Indian tribes say they must be consulted during a 5-year federal study of the Missouri River and its reservoirs. At a recent meeting in Fort Pierre, officials of several South Dakota tribes told the Army Corps of Engineers about erosion, sedimentation, and water supply problems along the river. The agency is holding 41 meetings through August in the states along the Missouri River to get suggestions for conducting the study. Congress authorized the study to determine whether changes are needed in the 1944 law that set 8 purposes for the river and its reservoirs. Those purposes are flood control, navigation, hydropower, irrigation, water supply, recreation, water quality, and fish and wildlife. Navajo President Joe Shirley Jr. faces a new challenge in his bid to seek an unprecedented 3rd consecutive term, with tribal election officials disqualifying him from the race. The Navajo Election Administration cited tribal law limiting presidents to 2 consecutive 4-year terms and removing Shirley from the list of candidates. If Shirley was permitted to run, he would be in violation of law, said the disqualification letter received by Shirley's office. Shirley has said the term limit is unjust and he would challenge it, arguing that the Navajo people should decide who they want as their leader. He has 10 days to appeal the decision. No other elected official within the tribal government of the Navajo Nation has term limits. Shirley's attorney, David Jordan, said he plans to argue that disqualifying Shirley is a violation of his rights to equal protection. Plans to build a resort casino in Fall River, Massachusetts have taken a step forward with the city's redevelopment authority's decision to sell a 300-acre parcel of land to the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe for $21 million. The deal, approved last week by a 4-1 margin, still needs the approval of the city's voters, as well as the passage of gambling legislation at the State House to allow a casino to be built. The site sold was the proposed location of a biotechnology park, but city officials say they will look for another spot for that venture. Casino supporters say it will provide thousands of jobs to a city that has had one of the highest state's unemployment rates. A small group of protesters stayed put May 27th after being ordered to leave the entrance of a planned nickel and copper mine in the Upper Peninsula near what the tribe considers sacred grounds. 2 people were then arrested. Police said one person was sitting on the top of Eagle Rock, a 60-foot high outcrop where members of the Keweenaw Bay Indian community conduct religious pilgrimages. She remained there past the 9:30 a.m. deadline and was arrested. Both women were charged with misdemeanor trespassing. Supporters identified the 2 as Charlotte Loonsfoot, 37, and Chris Chosa, 29, both members of the Keweenaw Bay Indian community. As many as 20 people have camped at the site during the last month of May. Kennecott Eagle Minerals Company officials warned them to be gone by May 27th. Kennecott Eagle spokesman Matt Johnson handed them a letter asking them to leave, saying it wasn't safe for them to be there anymore because it's a construction site. By noon, the site was empty, but for company officials and a few police officers, there were a number of tents still up, and the protesters' campfire, which they considered sacred, was still smoldering near the base of the rock. The entrance on the site is on state land that Kennecott plans on leasing. Kennecott believes the mine could produce as much as 300 million pounds of nickel and 200 pounds of copper. Kennecott is owned by London-based Rio Tinto PLC. The site is within an undeveloped area of Marquette County known as Yellow Dog Plains, prized by environmentalists and sports enthusiasts for its quiet woods and rivers near Lake Superior. And that is the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to thank you for joining with us today. Come back again soon. Miigwech.